doing me social media jobbies. So Alexandru is asking, can I teach what I'm jamming now? Well, it would depend on what it was. I'm in the middle of designing a funk course right now, and it's going to be really wicked. I've always loved funk, like the Meters and Curtis Mayfield and that kind of funkadelic and that whole thing. I used to play in a funk band called the Anonymous Rhinoceros, which was a fantastic band, really great players, really great musicians in the band as well. Any of you guys anyone from Melbourne, Australia? If anyone from Melbourne or visiting Melbourne, there was a band around called, I think they're called Adam 12 or Adams 12. I can't remember. I think it's just Adam 12, which I don't know why they're called that because none of them are called Adam. But anyway, they're mostly the guys from Anonymous Rhinoceros that I used to play in a band with. Really great covers band. Kristen Holland, singer, bass player, great voice, man, an incredible bass player. I used to be really jealous that he could play this seriously funky stuff, Stevie Wonder or whatever, and sing it, really do a great job singing it at the same time, you know. It's crazy. Anyway, I can't remember why I was talking about that. But just generally funk stuff. So yeah, lots of funk coming along. The dreamy chords I was just playing, I don't know what they were exactly. You get really nice chords like that when you look for semitones or tones and you put tones together. So if you have the first time I came across it was that the Joe Satriani thing. And I couldn't figure out why that first chord, or actually nearly all the chords in this are really nice. Can't talk and play at the same time. But I'm very happy I can remember it, actually. I haven't played that in years. But it's all about having these nice little semitone movements in stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember all of those bits. Had to stop at the fast bit. I hate that. Used to love playing that song. Played that for my college exams. Adam 12 was an American TV show in the 60s. Didn't know that. Headbust, there's loads of, if you go to the jazz chord section of my site, you'll find plenty of minor nine, all my favourite minor 9s, 13s, all of that kind of stuff. Funny moments, old enough to, I don't know, there's some funny way of saying that, I can't remember. I don't tell my age, mainly just because, well, I think actually it's wrong on Wikipedia, which is good, but you know, lots of security things these days ask for your age, so I don't think it's a good idea to generally shout about it. Anyway, I love the funk groove, man, jam along with my electric. Who's your favourite, there will be funk phrasing in that, Funk Sage. Who's your favourite guitarist that you like playing most? I like playing my own stuff most, but I like playing along with stuff like, well, all sorts of stuff, everything from, at the moment, Tower of Power I've been jamming along with a bit because that's really good fun. Quite often it's, you know, more bluesy sort of things, I guess. You know, Clapton and that kind of stuff. Am I on any medication? No, I'm not on medication. I'm a little bit tired at the moment. Generally just been, yeah, had a particularly kind of hectic couple of months where I've not had anywhere near as much time for sleeping and recreation as I'd like. But it's been more balanced than usual, funnily enough, saying that. So sorry if I seem a little bit space cadetty, but I'm not on drugs. I'm not taking any medication and I don't take drugs. So yeah. The Pentangle, I don't know that. How many guitars do I have? Quite a few, but not many. Shout me out. Okay, FIFA, as long as you're a good boy or girl. You have to change, Stephen, if you're playing How to Save a Life, then you have to change the Old Faithful string pattern. You can't just keep doing that. Or you move one of the chords. I can't remember that particular song. I remember how it goes. How to save a love. How to save a love. Yeah, so I'm kind of going down, down, up, and there's the change. This rotary thing's getting a bit over the top, isn't it? Anyway, do you work on your site and course as your full-time job, or I have another job? It's my full-time job. I mean, playing guitar is, so I'm doing different stuff, sessions, doing stuff for the lessons, writing books, all of that sort of stuff. Someone was asking about doing the new blues course. The level is clearly stated if you go to the main page. If you go to the blues page and then click on that, there's a whole section about who should be doing it, what level you should be at. I like The Cure. I've never been a huge fan of The Cure, but I quite like The Cure. Advice for rhythm player that wants to learn lead guitar, have a look at my blues series. There's a new one coming out, new lessons every Tuesday. How do you move a scale shape up and down the neck, minor pentatonic or major scale? That will be covered as well in the blues lead course when I do it with the minor pentatonic, so that's probably the easiest way of doing it rather than trying to explain it now. Colm asks, what's more important, knowledge or feel? Well, definitely feel. Feel's more important than pretty much anything else. Would I agree that the player makes the guitar doesn't make the player? Well, I mean, I think that's fairly obvious that if if I plugged into Jimi Hendrix's rig with his guitar, I wouldn't be sounding like Jimi Hendrix, and if, as probably many of you have also found out, that if you buy a Strat, you don't suddenly sound like Jimi Hendrix neither. So, yeah, obviously the player makes the guitar, not the other way around. Thank you, Aaron. I've already seen David Gilmour last year, so I don't think I'll see him again this year. I will if I can find tickets. I will probably. I'd go and see him every night of the week if I had time and tickets. How long have you been playing guitar for? And keep up the good work. Thank you, Gaming Machine. I've been playing for about 30 years now, which is a very long time. What about the combo? I don't know what combo you're talking about. Are you a fan of Rory Gallagher? Yes. I'm a fan of lots of people, Do you like the Foo Fighters? It's like, do I like this guy? Do I like that? There's not many bands that I don't like. You know, there's music that I'm maybe not that excited about, like The Cure. You know, I think The Cure are a fantastic band, incredible musicians, fantastic songwriters, great production. Just didn't quite connect with me the way some other music has. So I have respect for most music, even if it's, well, Justin Bieber would be kind of pushing it, but I think there's lots of great music in that in the pop field that I really respect and really rate, be it from it, you know, however, I don't have to name names, but you know, there's a lot of great, really great pop music, and I really like funk, and I really like jazz. I mean, funk right now. I mean, I hadn't listened to much funk really for, well, a couple of years probably since I really gave. Well, no, more recently than that, but you know, it's not regularly on my playlist. Mostly when I'm listening recreationally, I'm listening to jazz most of the time. And I'm not a great jazz guitar, well, I'm not even an average jazz guitar player. I'm kind of a beginner jazz guitar player, really. And but I really enjoy it, and I love, you know, working out how to, you know, how to attempt Joe Pass tunes. And just lately, I've been getting really into a guy, Ted Green, this guy who wrote the famous chord chemistry book. So I've been listening to a lot of his stuff. I'm going to probably start transcribing some of that next week if I get some time. How do I rate Bruce Springsteen? All your songbooks and not one song. So I'll explain. I think I've explained it before, but I haven't explained it maybe in these shows. So the reason that there are some obvious omissions in the songbooks, like I'm a huge Neil Young fan, but there's not a single Neil Young song in any of my songbooks. Bruce Springsteen, incredible artist. Green Day, I really like. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Tom Petty. There's loads of artists. Basically, if an artist is signed to Warner Chappell for their publishing, I can't use them, right? Because my publishing company and Warner Chappell sheet music publishing company don't like each other. Well, they're kind of competition. So basically, that I don't get to I don't get access to all of the songs that I'd really like from the songbooks, right? So that's why there's some really obvious omissions. That's why there's no Green Day. It's not that I don't think they're a great band or that they're good fun to learn or whatever. They're just, their publishers are really awkward for me and won't give me permission to use their songs, and therefore I might get scanned on the video thing as well. If I put videos up, they might decide to take them off or whatever. So I'd just rather stick with the ones that I can, you know, if I can put them in the songbook, probably the publishers are fairly friendly, shall we say. So that's why there's some omissions of stuff like, you know, it's not like I don't like Bruce Springsteen. I think he's an incredible artist, you know. I love that recent documentary about him as well, where he plays some stuff. What a talented and deep dude. Deep, philosophically is too big a word, but you know, he really cares, that guy. Well, he did. I mean, he seems to. I don't know him personally, but so yeah, same with Chili Peppers. I'd love to do more Chili Pepper stuff, but a lot of their things are, you know, I was trying to do, well, I will do soon that that thing or whatever it's called, Road Tripping. But it's got plenty of finger style bits in it that I really kind of have to. It would be so much easier if I could put it in the songbook. I will do it still. It's on my list of stuff to do in the near future, so probably in the next month or two. But yeah, things like that are just so much easier with a tab. The same to Dire Straits stuff, although I can use Knopfler's. I can use Dire Straits tunes. In fact, I need to get that other one finished, the Lady Rider. Who do I listen to in jazz? I think I mentioned, you know, Joe Pass, Wes Montgomery, Johnny Smith a lot. Joni Mitchell uses loads of different tunings. It's not just one, so you'd need to find the right one for the right song. When will I come to the US? Probably probably not until next year, because I've got a really busy year this year already. I've got a really big project starting in a couple of months that is going to take up a lot of my time, and trying to travel is going to be a little bit difficult. Under the Bridge is already done. Somebody asked about that. Which Courtney Barnett song would you include in the book if the publisher let you? I was going to put in Pedestrian at Best, I think. If that was what it's called, that one. That riff, the Courtney Barnett riff for that. But I love the other Going to Preston, Moving to Preston. I haven't worked it out yet, actually. Still something like that. Raphael asks if I'm going to Poland. Well, I might go to Poland. In fact, I'll probably be in Poland sometime later this year, because my missus is from Poland. So I'm in Poland a bit. I haven't just been to this NAMM. I've been to NAMM before, but not this year, because of this busy project coming up. I've been in India. I was in India 3 years ago. I did a meetup in Delhi. Very, very cool. About 30 or 40 people came. In fact, some of the people from the meetup were here recently-ish. Interviewing Steve Vai was really nice. Really sweet guy, Steve. Really, really genuinely nice, caring, amazingly talented, very deep kind of guy. Yeah, he was cool. Probably my favourite of all of them was Larry Carlton, because I hung out with Larry a bit, yeah, Larry's a really great guy, like an incredible guitar player, just really funny, and I liked his. That was kind of fun. Why am I only doing beginner songs these months? Because I needed to get a backlog of songs done. If you think about it, I mean, I shouldn't keep explaining myself because I get the same questions. Maybe I need to put a frequently asked questions thing on the site for this sort of question. But it's not like I spend more time doing beginner songs than other songs. It's just that they're a lot quicker. So I can do 10 beginner songs in a well, maybe not 10, maybe 5 in an afternoon. Whereas if I'm working on something hard like Lady Ride of the Dire Straits, I might spend 5 hours just to transcribe it, and then at least another 5 hours to practice it, and then I have to film it, and it's a lot more complicated to film a more complicated song because there's more bits that I have to get right. I'm pretty fussy about getting stuff right, and so I always make sure that if I'm filming things if I get it wrong, then I get a bit humpy and I redo it again. Let's go and have a little look at let's do some beginner sort of Q&A now, because it's been a little bit random. So hang on, what I haven't done, guys, I'm sorry, just give me a second here to sorry, Tawny, I've not got that little Google Doc thing open from last time, but let me get that open now. In fact, I'm not sure even if you're there, but let's have a look and see if it's a live stream notes and ideas. I think that's the one. Stream the 6th. Thank you very much. It looks like Keith's in. I'm not sure if I shouldn't call you the right ones, the right names. They're right names. have to ask you guys. So let me know on the Google streams some point, not straight away if you don't want, but let me know if you prefer me to call you your proper names or your tags, and if your tag, which tag. Yeah, so here we go. So let's hit the beginner question, seeing as that's supposed to be the thing. Holy Owl, great tag. I own both a folk and a classical guitar. I like the classical guitar more for its sound. Do you recommend doing your course with the folk anyway? If you prefer the classical sound, then do it on the classical guitar. Yeah, because it's about what you want to play at the end of the day. It's important that you're playing the stuff that you really like, and it makes sense that you make the guitar sound how you like it to sound. And so yeah, if you're enjoying the sound of a nylon string thing, then stick with that. You know, there's going to be some songs that kind of won't sound right like the original recording, but maybe you prefer the sound of it on a nylon string anyway. So that would be my my answer for that question. Wolfie Wanderer, hi Justin, really trying hard with transcribing but really struggling with the difference between A major and A7, especially on certain chords like D. Between the major and 7, especially on chords like D. Any advice? So if you're a real beginner, the kind of the transcribing thing, the ear training exercise that I have on the site, are more actually about trying to get you to open up your ears rather than it being a specific exercise, which I know sounds a little bit odd, but if I explain myself a bit further, which is most beginners don't really give a second thought to transcribing because it seems too far away, much too difficult to be able to do. So the idea of having that course is that maybe you, by doing some of those fairly simple exercises, you get you get a bit more confident with transcribing generally. The idea that you're probably going to be able to transcribe, and it'll boost your confidence in that. Things like hearing the difference between a D and a D7, you know, it depends on how well you play the flat 7. Because for me, I need to turn that modulation off because it's a little bit. There's a regular D. There's D7. It's got a little bit more bite. If I only play the strings 2, 3, and 4, there's the D7. There's D, D7. So it does sound quite a bit different. It depends on. So a little bit it depends on what the notes are that are accented within the chord. If you're a beginner and you're transcribing early days, just be really happy you can hear it to D, and don't be too upset with yourself if you missed it to D7. You know, telling the difference between major and minor is a really strong starting point. I definitely recommend that you work on hearing the difference between major and minor chords more than either of them in 7. That would be my recommendation. How can I mute noise when change chord in an acoustic guitar? Okay, so that's a funny question. How can I mute noise when I change chords on an acoustic guitar? So muting noise on an acoustic guitar and electric guitar will be more or less the same. When you're changing from one chord to another chord, you shouldn't normally hear too much noise. So if I'm just changing chords here, you can hear that there's definitely, you know, I can hear the pressure of playing the notes. I'm going to exaggerate it now, just in case you can't hear it, but you can hear that there's, if I'm changing between those chords, you can hear the fingers hammering down and then lifting off. Okay, but in the context of strumming, if you try strumming a tune, you shouldn't really hear kind of much of that as being a problem. It's probably still there if we went and analysed it and slowed it down or something. But, you know, especially with strumming, the and after 4, the up strum at the end of a bar. So if you think like 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and that one, that last and, very often just open strings. So if I slowed it down a lot and went C, 2 and 3 and 4 and it's no fingers. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, which sounds weird at this tempo, but as soon as you're doing it, it sounds actually fine. So I wouldn't be too worried about a little bit of noise. If it's a lot, then you might be finding you're flicking the other strings as you lift off your chord, which might make it a little excessive and therefore sound not so good. Okay, Bob asks, just started beginner course, changing between 6 chords, now at 60s. Okay, should I try not looking at strings or fingers at this time? I am having trouble switching between chords and getting it right. So really important for any of you guys doing the 1 minute changes stuff is that you remember that you've got to be doing your 1 minute changes and your strum pick strum idea, because the 1 minute change is all about speed and getting the fingers moving as fast as you can, and not so much about accurate chords, although you don't want it to be off the scale bad. But then the strum pick out strum should be where you're thinking about your accuracy. There's an exercise that you're going to do later, Bob. I'm not sure if you've already approached it or not. I call it air changes, which is where you start to form the shape of the chords in the air. Now, what you'll probably find is that if you're looking at your fingers while you're doing those kind of air changes for a little while, that would be a point where it might be worth starting to try not to look at the strumming hand if you want. I know some superb professional guitar players that still watch their hands when they're playing chords or scales or whatever, you know. So don't feel like you have to not look at it. I generally don't like looking at my hand because there's, well, it seems to put me off often, actually, tell the truth, if I look too much at my hand while I'm playing. Sometimes I force myself to, if I'm doing minimum movement exercise or something like that, then I might consciously watch it, but I don't. I do find it can make me a little bit like, oh, you know. Okay, I'm going to go back to the stream for a minute and grab a few random questions. Still, hopefully, beginnery sort of stuff, but I'll come back to the Google Doc in a sec. Palm muting from Zishan. Any tips on palm muting? Well, it depends on what aspect of palm muting, I guess. So you need to find the right balance for palm muting as to how far you have it up. If you have a lot of palm mute, you just get a click, whereas you get a bit more note. Too clicky, none. Bit more. So you want to really you need to find the place if you're talking about power chords. That kind of, you know, getting that muted thing. If it's palm mute as in doing, you know, where you're trying to get individual notes, you know, again, if you do it too much, that sounds funny. And quite hard. So if it, you know, if you get it right, you can hear. You can hear the note still, but too much. You kind of hear the note still. Maybe probably because I'm in the studio, but yeah. Okay, so how important do you think reading notation is on the guitar? I don't think learning to read notation is important if you want to be a kind of amateur fun guitar player. If you want to be a professional, or you want to play classical, or you want to play jazz, then you need to learn to read music. Otherwise, don't really think you should bother. Although I have a reading notation book coming out soon, so you might like to buy that anyway. No, I'm just kidding. The most frustrating thing I see beginners do would definitely be not concentrating on their rhythm enough, right? It's a really, really bad habit to get into, to be, you know, it's just bad. You got to try and keep that rhythm going as much as you can. You know, that's really got to be the... Oh, God. Got a runny nose and it's making my nose itchy. Anyway, where was I saying? What was I talking about? I can't even remember now. Something to do with chords and chord changes, I think. But anyway, we'll be over that bit now. Please talk a bit about soloing between chord changes. That'll be for later, fella. Test my cues don't come through. Well, it is, and I just managed to read one that wasn't important. Okay, is it hard to play heavy metal songs on an acoustic guitar? No, have a listen to any of the unplugged versions by like Nirvana or whatever, and there's sure there's some other great heavy metal bands that have done acoustic things. Did Metallica do an unplugged? Can't think. Don't remember ever seeing it. Probably they did. Do you have any more tips on learning the boats on the neck? I'm guessing you mean notes. If you got my practical music theory book, there's loads of great exercises in that that you might like to check out. Sorry for doing the sales thing. An intermediate guitar player, yeah, intermediate guitar players for later, fella. This is the beginner section now for the first hour. Come back to me about the reggae strum later in the session there, Andy. Never compare yourself to other players. Everybody is different. That's true. Although sometimes it can be helpful to kind of look at what other players are doing and try and emulate their thing. You know, so if I'm, if I'm comparing myself to Joe Pass, I'm not comparing myself like, oh, Joe Pass, you're the almighty jazz solo god, and I'm like, oh, I'm the lowly, hopeless guitar player. I think that could be unhealthy, but comparing yourself, like listening to what you're playing and listening to them and going, well, what parts did I get right and how can I improve elements of my playing to make myself sound more like that great guitar player, whoever it would be for you. I think that can be quite a healthy thing. Do I anchor my little fingers on the pickguard? I do. So if I'm playing electric guitar, very often I've got little finger anchor, but not all the time. So if I'm doing funk or this sort of strumming, I don't. I'd like to for fingerstyle, but my little finger's really short. I've done this before. My little finger's proper tiny on both hands. So I can't do the resting the little finger on the guitar there because it means that the rest of my fingers are too cramped. So I can't do it for acoustic guitar, but I would like to. So if you can, then you might. Pearl Jam Unplugged. That's a great example again of a rock band that's playing acoustic guitar. Okay, I'm going to pop back to the dock again. Rainier Van der Wies, probably. As a beginner, is it necessary to play with a metronome for pop rock stuff? I'm not comfortable with it, and I just like to play along with the record and stomp my foot. Okay, so playing along with the record is kind of like playing with a metronome. Okay, playing with a metronome can be a little bit boring, and I do recommend if you're doing stuff like practicing to a metronome, and you're finding it difficult, or if you're practicing stuff like playing a groove, it can be really good to play it with a drum groove as well. So if you've got GarageBand or something, picking a drum groove and just putting it on loop can be a really good way of kind of, getting a bit of that cool feeling going. But that said, playing with a metronome can also be a good test for yourself to really make sure that you can kind of get a groove on. Because one thing that I find personally is that if I'm playing with a group, like with a drummer who's already got a nice feel and a nice bass player or whatever, I can lock into their groove easier than I can if I'm playing to a metronome. So if I was doing a session and they say, oh, we want this funk thing, and they just put the metronome on and I've got to play to it, I find that a lot harder to kind of find a nice pocket, a nice groove in myself, even though it should be easier, right? Because there's just me and the metronome. But I find it harder to find the pocket, the pocket being like the groove where it feels really nice. I usually get there in the end, I hope. But it's I find it easier to play with a drummer. Jace 9999999 asks, when transcribing, how do you figure out the strumming pattern? So something that's not on my site yet, which I need to get a little bit more involvement in the site, is rhythm dictation. Definitely. If you wanted to check it, I've got a ebook called Understanding Rhythmic Notation, which is all about reading and tapping out rhythms. And for me, that was definitely the big turning point was when I learned to count rhythms and be able to tap them, which is what the essential kind of part of my ebook thing, the understanding rhythmic notation, is just about looking at the music and going, or whatever, you know, reading a rhythm and being able to count it along, you know. That makes a really big difference, because once you can recognize what a rhythm looks like, this is how it went for me anyway, it might not happen for you that way, but once I knew what a rhythm looked like and what it sounded like, when I heard a rhythm, whether it's a rhythm of a rhythm guitar or whether it's the rhythm of a solo, because remember that everything like lead guitar has a rhythm to it as well, which is just as important, that you get the rhythm right when you're playing a solo, not just the notes. You know, really getting that sense of rhythm in your mind means that when I hear it, I can kind of see what the rhythm pattern is. You know, so if it's going da 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 da, I know it's going 1 E and up to E and up, 3 E and 4. So straight away hearing da 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 da, I'm gonna know it's 1 E and up to E and up, 3 E and 4, and I can see it. Group of 16th notes, first and last 16th note, da 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 da, and then E and to the next one, and then on the beat. So I can kind of picture what it looks like, which is also helpful for being able to remember it as well, because it's not just about hearing it, it's remembering what the rhythm is. So if you can see it and remember it, and then know how to kind of write it down, if you like, in your mind, or write it down on a paper, then I think that's a good way of doing it. I mean, I usually, where there's different rhythm patterns, it's so much easier if you can write stuff down, if you learn how to read and write rhythm. Because even if you don't want to learn notation, learning to read and write rhythm is really, really very, very useful skill indeed. Because, you know, particularly for solos and stuff, you know, if you know what the rhythm is, it tells you, if you can hear the rhythm first, it tells you how many notes you're looking for when you're transcribing. Makes it a lot easier to revisit stuff later on. It's easier to see where the notes are lined up against the chord, so you can understand what's happening harmonically. I mean, we're getting a bit off beginner land there, but, you know. Maybe after 3 months of playing, my fingers still hurt. Any advice there for Robert? It depends on lots of different variables, okay? So I have quite thin skin on my fingers still after all of these years playing guitar. So I struggle to do really big practice days that involve a lot of bending. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan tunes and that kind of thing. You know, if I do a really big practice session, my fingers get quite sore. So I think it's different for different people. One thing that you might want to bear in mind is not practicing too much at the beginner stages, because you need to have a chance to let the skin, to let the skin develop and thicken up. Other than that, I'm not really sure, I'm afraid. Sorry. Ashton asks, could you explain the difference between D chord with muted strings and a D with an F sharp chord? So D/F sharp means it's a D chord with an F sharp bass note. Okay, so if you have a regular D, you should just be playing the thinnest 4 strings. If you accidentally play the 5th string, that's fine too. But if you play the 6th string, it's the note E. It doesn't sound very nice, right? But the note F sharp is in the D chord already. When you play your regular little D, which I need to just put the camera on so I can see if you can actually see it. Yep, you can. So when you're playing a D chord, this note is the note F sharp, okay? Because if you remember the note names, you've got E, B, G, D, A, E. So the 2 outside notes, the strings are the same. So if you play D with an F sharp bass, either with your thumb or re-fingering the D chord, like that, you're actually just doubling that. Sounds a bit out of tune. Is a bit out of tune. I love this. That, you know, my first call tuner is an app on my phone. That's just ridiculous. That technology's come like that. I mean, it's fantastic, but yeah, it's a bit shy. Yeah, that was a bit sharp and that was a bit flat. There we go. excuse me, tuning in the middle of a session. Not very professional. More professional than being totally out of tune there. So, yeah, playing a D with an F sharp bass is literally just a D chord and kind of doubling that F sharp note down onto the thicker string. It's nice in, you know, there's quite a few songs. It's in. That bit in Pink Floyd. So I hate guitar. If my guitar's even slightly out of tune, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Yeah, we're better now. In Wish You Were Here, it's a really nice thing. I'm just going to move that around a little bit as well because that's better. I was looking a bit lopsided there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the other. If I'm pointing like that, it doesn't make any difference to you, right? But I've got my Google Doc on one screen and the live chat thing on the other one. And there's this kind of there's a delay. There's about a 30-second delay between me speaking and the chat appearing on the screen. So sometimes it's there's a bit of a delay between me seeing stuff. Anyway, just in case you go, oh, he's looking at the chat now and start typing questions, it's not going to make any difference because it's like 30 seconds behind. Although now I've just killed 30 seconds, so the stream's going to start moving too fast, I guess. So we're still on the beginner stuff for now. We've got another 25 minutes of beginner stuff, although we might, if we run out of beginner questions, go into something else. Any advice on removing bits of fluff that end up on the strings after wiping them with a cloth? Asks Disco Tam. I've never been asked that question before. In all the years I've been teaching guitar, no one's ever asked. I don't wipe my strings with cloth, so I don't really know. However, I do have a cloth, and I have done it before. I have wiped the strings with a cloth before. And I found just using my fingers to pinch the cloth off the string was the easiest solution. Oh, God. Oh, what a great question. I think that's a question of the series so far. Anyway. Sorry, Disco, I'm only taking the mickey. Suggestion from building strength for the right hand for playing Megadeth. Yeah, Megadeth's not so beginners. Okay. Upstrum on F chord. Do you upstrum with the bar or upstrum on open chords? You would upstrum on any chord. So upstrum isn't a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not racist or sexist. It's an equal opportunity. It's an equal opportunity technique. That's what I was looking for. The upstrum. The upstrum is an equal opportunity technique that'll work with open chords and bar chords and funk chords and jazz chords and anything else. So don't you worry about where you're using your upstrum. You can use it in any situation that you like. Why do some folks refer to palm muting as damping? I don't know. Why do some people call a capo a capo? I don't know. Every time I do the bar chord, the finger playing the bar hurts. Well, probably just because if it's a new thing for you. What you'll find is like the line along the edge of my first finger has a callus on it, just like the fingertips do. So if you haven't developed that yet, it's probably going to get a bit sore because you're pressing your finger onto little bits of metal, so it's kind of normal for it to get a bit sore, I guess. Thumb position when playing bar chords is asked by Haytham. Haytham, I did a video very recently all about thumb position, so try typing thumb position into either my website or into Google and into YouTube, and you'll find a whole lesson on it. Simon asks, how do you keep time, or keep timing, but I think you mean how do you keep time, and I think you might have asked before about practicing time. I think my favourite way of practicing time is playing along with people whose time I really like. So whatever it is, whatever records or songs that I'm enjoying at that time, I tend to try and play along with them. Sometimes I try and record myself and listen back to myself with the other one and see where I'm pushing or pulling. So if I'm playing too fast or too slowly at any particular point. Often you can do it in real time, particularly if there's a little riff. What was one I used to like doing that? Was a little riff that I remember practicing. Sorry, my volume was down there a bit. I can't remember the key. I think it might be Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, is it? Definitely a Michael Jackson song. But there's just this little... That kind of little riff is just a really nice thing to play along to work on your time feel, as would be, you know, Sissy, you know. Any of that kind of stuff, and all of any of those kind of old grooves by the Meters or whatever, you know, any of that stuff where there's these nice little, I'm picking on funk now, but it could be any stuff like that. What was it? There was another one I was doing the other day, which was Jose Gilberto, the Latin jazz guy. I was just looking for something mellow on the way to on the train on the way to the studio, and he had this beautiful track. There was just a compilation that I had of his stuff, but it was just a really nice. I can't remember the chord sequence now exactly, but the groove was really nice. So I played along with that groove for quite a while, even actually before I had the chords down. So I just had it muted and was going. And I know I'm rushing it already because it feels rushed to me. And his thing was really laid back, you know, like it just felt really nice. And that's one of the things that I think it's good for beginners to understand, which I'm kind of continuing this thought in the beginners section. But it's making things feel good is really important for grooves, and it's worth noting and trying to play along with stuff when you're talking about time and time feels. If you find, like, Neil Young's always one of my favourite for strumming stuff. His feeling is just so nice to play along with. So but you need to find the guys that you really like, the artists that connect with you, that you enjoy their rhythm. Learn their song and then practice playing along with the original recording, and really try and make yourself feel like you're in the band, and realize that you should be playing exactly along with the band, with the drums, with the other guitar, with the bass player. You know, your timing should be exact, like absolutely to the millisecond exact with the original recording, and practicing doing that and playing along is a really, really good exercise. It's something I still really like doing. You know, I love playing really simple parts and just really concentrating on my time feel. It's something that I think I'm probably always going to feel like I need to work on it, because it every time I work on it, I feel more confident with it, and I think it's just nice to play simple things. Elliot asks, how do you develop your singing voice as perhaps not a natural singer? Well, I'm definitely not a natural singer. You know, I do some really awful attempts at songs. I think a lot of it is trying to find where it works for you. At least I feel like I've got to a point now where I know the songs that I can sing that are going to be all right. You know, what are some ones that I did? The Heroes lesson I did, the David Bowie thing. You know, I didn't. You know, I'm not a singer, but I don't think I slaughtered that as much as I've slaughtered some other songs. You know, Downtown Train, any of the Tom Waits songs I really like. You know, I did Hold On, and I've done Downtown Train, which I think comes out in a week or two. So some of the songs that are more that kind of slightly talky, raspy thing fits for me. So I think it's kind of trying to finding the songs that fit your voice is kind of a useful thing as well. And now I'm well, I'd like to be writing more at the moment. I'm not writing much at all because I've been too busy, but I feel like I'm in a better place of understanding how my own voice works, which I think is a pretty big deal. If you understand how your voice works and you sing songs your way, it's got a better chance of it sounding better than trying to sing it like the original singer, although maybe I got to this point by trying to sing like the original singers of the songs that I teach. Which is why usually it sounds pretty rough, because I'm trying, you know, I did a Crowded House song the other day, and the vocal was quite terrible. I nearly didn't release it. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I should put this out in public or not, because it was, you know, I didn't like the sound of my voice on that song at all, you know. So it's just trying to find the songs and stuff that fit for you. So, yeah, Needle and the Damage Done, the Neil Young song's a great one for working on the time feel. You know, that's one of those, when I do the lesson on those sort of songs, it's not like I spend more time on the time feel and the rhythm than I do on the notes of the actual, you know, the chords or whatever. So I transcribe it, I learn the chords, and then most of my practice is playing along with Neil, really trying to absorb that time feel and trying to get it to the point, because I kind of, for me, it's something to do with the emotion of the music as well. When you absorb the time feel, it's almost like you get inside the music, inside the emotion or the thing that was being communicated through the music more. I don't understand how that works or why it is, but that's the feeling I get. So that's why I always, you know, notes are important, but I always try and spend a bit more time trying to work on the rhythm of stuff, the rhythm of the vocals as well, actually, for that matter. I remember doing what was it, "I'm Yours" by Jason Mraz, and I think I was doing it on ukulele, and I was really struggling with the vocal on it until I sat down and really tried to work on the rhythm of the vocal. And once I cracked the rhythm of the vocal, it all felt easier to sing. And I don't think that, you know, I don't think that's a great vocal performance, but it's not a disastrous one, as some of my other ones have been, you know. So it's, yeah, working on the rhythm of stuff can be really beneficial. Okay, I'm going to go back to my list here, my Google Doc. Sorry, guys. Andreas asks, what would you say is the most common chords and or chord combinations in songs, and therefore the most important to learn for a beginner? So that would be, the answer to that question is my beginner's course. The point of teaching that course that way, and the chords that I've chosen are the ones that are really popular and you can play lots of songs with, by proof of that. If you get the, you know, I've got 2 beginner songbooks with 100 songs in each one, so that's 200 songs you can play, you know, and in a wide range of styles, just using the chords and the few rhythm patterns that I teach in the beginner's course. So that's the answer to that one. Benjamin asks, do you think you should when you are learning, you should use a whammy bar or not? I mean, I'm not big on whammy bars. I have one guitar with a whammy bar, which is a Jeff Beck guitar for when I'm attempting to try and play Jeff Beck songs, which is, you know, very difficult because Jeff's very hard to emulate, but I enjoy trying sometimes, and I like whammy bar for that, but I don't otherwise get into the whammy bar much. If you're a real beginner and you're learning your first chords, you're not going to get a lot of benefit learning to use the whammy bar, in my humble opinion. I think you're better off working on your rhythm and chords and changes and your timing and stuff like that. Whammy bar for me is a little bit more of an expressive, an accent kind of thing that you can add to things as you get better. but it shouldn't become the foundation. Although saying that, you know, I had a whammy bar on my guitar when I was a kid, and I used to love just like, you know, playing a harmonic and doing a dive bomb. You know, it was just fun. So there's nothing wrong with having some fun if you've got your whammy bar on. Lionel asks, unfortunately I can only practice 20 minutes a day, therefore I'm not sure how I should practice. Should I alternate one day your practice schedule and the next day focus on only practicing songs? It's a difficult one, Lionel, for 20 minutes. 20 minutes is enough to do my practice routine stuff for the beginner's course, but you're right, it's going to eat into the time for songs, and also it's going to eat into your fun time as well, because I really think it's very important that you have time playing guitar which is just for fun, and that you're not stressing about you know, having to do this or having to do that, that you just play for fun. And some people, what I tend to do now, my fun part is usually a warm-up sort of a thing. So I just have a kind of a short fun period, because there's so many guitar things that I need to work on and practice, and stuff for you guys and stuff for myself, that I tend to, and I enjoy all of it, right? Basically, as well, is the truth. But if you're practicing and doing the beginner's course, maybe I would divide your time to 3 and do one day of doing very strictly the timed practice stuff that I have on my beginner's course. Another session which would be just playing songs, which I dare you to keep it to the same amount of time as that you did for your proper practice, because you're probably going to spend a lot longer playing the songs, which is totally fine, by the way, because everyone knows songs are more fun. And then I would add another session where you just do whatever you like, you know. And it's something missing that I'm going to rejig in my beginner's course as time moves on, to incorporate more of this just fun stuff, because I definitely remember learning songs that were far, far too hard for me in the early days, but really enjoying it, you know. And I saw a guy doing the other day that what's the song? Whatever, I can't, I'm just trying to remember it. That what's it called? Space may be the final frontier, but it's made from a Hollywood basement. Californication. So that, you know, that's a great example of a song that's kind of fun for a beginner, but it's technically it's too difficult for a beginner to play, but it's a load of fun. So, you know, there's no harm in having a bit of a go at those kind of tunes, just for fun. So that would be my answer. Yeah. So rather than just thinking specifically one thing, have practice routine, songs, fun. Can't do 3 while I'm holding my pick. Navkar asks tips on how to play the frets after the 12th on a non-cut-out acoustic guitar for tabs and maybe some chords. That's definitely not beginner zone. Assume I'm going to get that pick. Sorry, throwing me pick on the floor. Yeah, that's not really a beginner thing. I don't tend to play above the 12th fret anyway, unless it's a cutaway. I did a few times when I was studying classical guitar. There was occasions where I had to play above the 12th fret, but I always found it very difficult. So, and now I play a classical guitar with a cutaway for exactly that reason. So, yeah, either get a cutaway or you'll have to explore some other techniques that I don't know that I can't help you with. Thomas asks, I always feel like my strumming accuracy is sloppy. Hitting A string on the D chords, hitting the E string on the A chords. Your desire lesson highlighted that. Any exercises to improve? Very good question, even relevant to the song I taught this week. Well done, Thomas. And it's a very good and difficult question. They're kind of a hard one for me to explain. I'm never really sure where my strumming accuracy came from, and therefore it's hard for me to explain to you how to do it. awareness is definitely the first thing that needs to happen. So you need to be aware that you're hitting those wrong strings. As far as developing the accuracy of which strings you're strumming when you're strumming, especially when you're doing a big hand movement. So developing accuracy, if your hand doesn't move much, that, you know, doing that kind of thing will help. Actually, I've got an answer for you. It's just occurred to me now. Doing the thumb pick out, the bass note picked out individually is probably the answer. So doing like a, which I do cover a little bit in the end of the beginner's course, is about picking out the bass note. Because what that's going to do is give you a little bit more of a kind of a relative feeling, yeah, between where the pick is when you're strumming. Because I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, see, when I'm doing my D chord, I'm definitely only hitting the D. But also, as you progress as from beginner to kind of intermediate stuff, your thumb's going to learn to come over and mute that thicker string, both on the A and the D. Definitely, thumb's going to get involved touching stuff. I went into great detail about that last week and the week before. So about why the thumb should be round the back for beginners and then moves over the top for intermediate guitar players. So maybe go and check out the streams from last week or the week before. But yeah, probably playing that bass note thing will help. And then just practice being aware that you're what you should be doing, and then trying to allow yourself to do the right thing. You know, I often find a good way to do it is to try to do the wrong thing. So play Desire, and then try to hit the A string when you hit the D. Okay, and then try doing it again and observing yourself, allowing yourself to do it. Because either you're, when you try and do it, you won't be able to do it. Or if you do it and you can observe it, you can start to question what is it that's going wrong and how can you fix it. So being a kind of an outside observer can be very, very helpful practice technique. Again, that's in, I think it's in my practice time lessons, the effective practice series. There's a lesson on how to observe your mistakes. That would be probably quite helpful. Excuse me, I got a proper sniffly cold going on and it seems to be making me thirsty. Sorry about having all of the breaks. Okay, I'll do another one of these and then I'll go back to the Q&A thing. Question from Lewis, which is, hi, I've been playing for 1 month. Is learning songs the most effective way of learning guitar? Learning songs on its own isn't the most effective, no. I'd say learning songs in conjunction with a good method that's going to teach you about rhythm and how rhythm works, and because rhythm's kind of the key thing. If some people learn all of those elements by learning songs, so if you were only going to do one thing, it would be learning songs, not just the technical stuff. Because if you just learn the technical stuff and no songs, it's kind of missing the point a bit. But I would recommend doing both. Songs and technical stuff is probably a better thing. So I'm going back to the feed now for a little bit. Rainier asks, I practice a lot of Johnny Cash to improve strumming accuracy. That's a good one. Johnny Cash is great for that kind of stuff. Is it bad? Anthony asks, is it bad that my fretting hand often touches the neck? No, it's not bad. So if I'm playing just general kind of, my first position for playing guitar, in fact I can't, need to just flick back to the camera to see if you can actually see me. You can. So my hand is gripping the guitar well enough to kind of hold the, no strap, I can hold the guitar. Very inaccurate, but that's the grip that I'm holding with most of the time. if I'm playing generally, that's kind of what the kind of grip I go for. So for a beginner thing, see, I even have trouble doing it down here, but you should try and keep the thumb around the back as a beginner, because you need that muscle to develop for when you do bar chords. So when you do bar chords, that muscle needs to be strong. In order to get that muscle strong, it's better to learn your beginner chords with the thumb around the back, and then as you develop it into an intermediate guitar player, you're going to probably start gripping the neck a little bit differently for your open chords. But when you do your bar chords, you're going to need that muscle there to be nice and strong. So that's how that works. I'm not sure if I answered the question. I forgot what the question was. I'm feeling a bit dopey today. Definitely, like, not having had enough sleep is affecting my performance. Sorry guys, but I just, yeah, I had a really dodgy night's sleep as well. Stressful day. I got my cat came back from the vet today, but he still hasn't healed. He's been in there for 3 nights. He's got this cut right on his neck, kind of there, and every time he turns his head, it pulls the skin open, which is to make it really difficult for the skin to connect, and it's still infected, and I've got to flush it out with a syringe every day. It's like, oh man. Anyway, enough of my woes. First world problems. Anyway, Toking Towel asks, I regularly meet with friends to play guitar together. Any tips on learning techniques you can do with 2 people? Definitely jamming stuff, like lead guitar, rhythm guitar is a really nice thing. So having 2 areas to lead guitar. One is the blues approach and the other is the major scale approach. They come together in modes, but I believe that you're better off learning them independently of each other first of all. So yeah, learning the chords in a key, like learning the chords in the key of G major, G, C, D, A minor, B minor and E minor. And having one person play those chords in any order they like while the other person improvises with the G major scale is really good fun. If you're in a blues, one person plays a 12-bar blues rhythm, the other person makes up a solo using the A minor pentatonic scale, if it was in the key of A, of course. And the other thing that's really good fun is to explore using a capo if you're both into the rhythm thing. If one person's playing regular open chords and the other guitar player uses a capo to play the same chords, okay, so you need to do a little bit of figuring out how to get your capo to work like that, but that's a good way around. I should get around to making a little capo wheel as well one day on the site, but anyway, where are we? Okay. Justin, is it better to regular position or classical position? We had this was a question last week. I think it's better to be in this position for me, but that's not to say it works for you. So do what feels good for you. I've just had a thought as well. If you're watching Zoe, I'm not sure if Zoe is watching, but Zoe gave me complete lists of all of the questions off all of the videos, which is really awesome. I know some other people have done that as well. I really appreciate you guys doing it. I think Zoe said she wanted that she was up for doing it regularly, so I'm going to you don't need to do it yet, and I promise I'll post those things up this week. I just didn't have time in the last few days. It's been particularly busy. Okay, Gunter says 1 minute changes mostly works on its own for me, but when I apply chord changes in songs I often fail. Any help on that? Yeah, just practice, man. 1 minute changes as an exercise is quite different to playing a song because there's other elements involved. A lot of it's distractions, like you're distracted by the melody, which is another reason why 1 minute changes are so effective, because they've been removed from the song context. So as soon as you start playing a song, you start to hear that song in your head and you want to start playing and thinking about the song more than it kind of interferes with the ability to make the chord changes, but it's something that you just get used to with a bit of practice. Anthony asked if I play mandolin. I do, but not very well. Advice for people who are starting to learn jazz. Yeah, get through the beginner's course and the intermediate course first of all, and then start on my jazz course. Learn some standards. I've got a few lessons on how to play some standards. That's probably where you would want to start if you want to get into doing your... Anyway, sorry, going off on one. Purple Tiger asks, do I remember me? I'm sorry, I don't remember the Purple Tiger. How to use the tone and selector switch on Strat would be greatly appreciated. Okay, we haven't done a gear thing for a little while. So, on a Strat, this has got a humbucker in the bridge position. Doesn't matter whether it's a humbucker or a single chord, it's still the same thing. The little 5-way selector switch, it looks so bright on my screen you can't really see what's what, but the selector switch there, when it's furthest down, is using this pickup, right? In this particular guitar, this is quite a high output sound, so it's good, kind of rocky kind of thing. If I move it back one position, right, so that's all the way down, if I move that switch up one, it's this pickup and this pickup together. Okay, very different sound. Here's the back pickup again. That's those two together. The middle position, halfway up, is just the middle pickup. Again, just slightly different sound. The front, the second, if it's all the way up, it's just the front pickup, which is the roundest, most common with you kind of those kind of, you know, Hendrixy sort of things, and one back. There's the front, round, one back. It's got a little bit more bite in it. I quite like what are called the out of phase ones, which are the second and fourth positions, which is using the front two pickups or the back, either of the combinations that involve the middle pickup. Particularly for any, you know, any sort of, I like actually, but for funk maybe that one, but yeah, definitely I like those out of phase sounds. They got a nice feeling about them, you know. Okay, I think that's about there for beginners.